Welcome to the Route 91 Heart Peer Support Information Session. If you haven't already, please share your name, where you're from, and your connection to Route in the chat. We want to make sure that we say hi and get to meet everybody. I'm Alice Goldstein. I live in Las Vegas. I wasn't at Route, but I have been doing the weekly support group for about a year and a half now. We meet every week, and I just love getting together and seeing how the Route community is so supportive of one another. I am the Heart Lead Coach.
And I'm Jill Winter. I am, excuse me, a router. I am the Heart Lead Peer Mentor. I lived in San Diego when Route happened, and actually moved to the Nashville area 1 year ago at the end of this month.
Welcome.
So I guess that's me next, right? I'm Terry Keener, and I'm the Behavioral Health Coordinator at the Vegas Strong Resiliency Center. And the HEART program is part of the Resiliency Center connected to the center. So my role is to try and help Alice and Jill with what they're doing. I think they're doing the work. So kind of what happened with the way this program got started is that we were seeing how much people impacted by the tragedy were connecting with each other and reaching out with each other. And so it's really inspired by what many of you were already doing, is, by connecting and supporting and offering each other the support and understanding that only you could, as other people who had been there, or as people who were a part of what happened or connected to it in some way. And so the thought was, what if, a lot of times that went well. Sometimes, it was hard because people didn't know what to do for each other all the time. They wanted to do what was best, but weren't always sure what that was themselves. So we thought, what if we put some structure, some training, some guidance, some support in place to help this peer support program, or this natural peer support that was happening be just a little bit more formal. And so I had been in contact before with Cherie Castellano, who is she's in New Jersey, and she's nationally recognized expert in peer support. And she's been working with all different kinds of groups. I'm good, thanks. All different kinds of groups since, I don't know how long, a long time. Does it say on there? 1999. She's worked with, as you can see on here, mom to mom, caregivers, worker to worker, which is child welfare, veterans, various types of first responders. And she actually had a model called reciprocal peer support. And part of the reason for that model is that when you give, you get something back. And so it really is a reciprocal process. And so she actually helped us the first time we kicked off a training and with our first cohort of peer mentors. She actually helped us with that. And we kind of designed it to be specific for those impacted by Route 91.
And actually, before we go into the next one, I do want to take a minute to introduce Erin Powell, who is a router and one of our current mentors. So you don't have to talk. I'm just going to say we have a current mentor on. So if anybody has any questions, Erin's an absolutely amazing resource as well.
Yeah, we have such a great group of people that went through the first training with us. So thanks for being here, Erin. So yeah, I think Alice kind of already went through what HEART is, what it stands for. And it is based on the reciprocal peer support model. And it's the idea that the peer receiving the support has choice, and the peer offering support is going to promote resilience and strength and hope for that person in a structured way.
And it's really beautiful, like, because like Susie said, is that no matter where you were or what impact you had, you are going to be able to help someone else. And that's very exciting.
So our heart mentors, all of us were affected by route in various different ways. We've all, through our healing process, have come to the point where we have a strong desire to help others who were impacted. We know that there's still a lot of people who are struggling. And I don't know about you guys, but it absolutely breaks my heart to see that. And anything that I can do to help them, to me, kind of defines why I'm still here. It gives me the purpose. So we've also made the personal commitment to our own self-care, which is so incredibly valuable when you're doing the peer support. Excuse me, we need to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves, because we can't help others if we don't take care of ourselves. As Alice and Terry kind of said, the peer support, it's a process through which people who share common experiences or face similar challenges come together as equals to receive help based on the knowledge that comes through the shared experience. You know, and we've all experienced the trauma, we understand, and I think that's so critical to remind people they're not alone. And we can provide hope to them, and knowing that they are not alone. Can't tell you how many times I've told somebody, you know, we're in this together, you're not alone. And they kind of look at me because they've never heard that before. We're going to focus on the wellness needs and strengths of both our mentors and our peers. As a mentor, we'll train you to offer a variety of different support, including the understanding, sharing resources. We give you a resource guide with huge amounts of resources, building skills, community relationships, setting goals, self-care, and again, the reminder that you're not alone. Your support is not therapy, and that's one thing that we want to emphasize with you guys. We're not professional counselors. We're not expected to know all the answers. But oftentimes what people need is somebody to listen. So we'd asked some of our mentors, give us some reasons that they decided to become mentors, and we wanted to share a few of those with you. We actually have one of our mentors who was not only a part of Route, but was at the shooting at the Gilroy Garlic Festival. And he had been struggling with alcohol, especially since Route, and now thankfully has been sober for 2 years. So, you know, he felt that, you know, there's a lot of people out there who are having that issue, and he's a great resource for us, you know, if somebody has had some substance abuse issues. A lot of our mentors, again, just became mentors because they didn't want people to know that they're not alone. And it's so important to have each other to lean on. We have some mentors who were not at Route. One in particular was a community responder who worked with some of the families in the days to weeks to follow. And she realized what an impact it was on people who weren't there, but still have experienced other things. We also have a mom of a router who was on the receiving end of the phone call, so she knows how that feels. So like we said, this truly is for everybody. As there were people, even if they, you know, weren't there, there were a lot of people who were impacted above and beyond the 22,000 of us who were there. I know some routers whose either their children or their spouse were on the other end of the phone call, and they've been diagnosed with secondary PTSD. So,
Sure.
you know, it's definitely has impacted so many people above and beyond those of us who were actually in the venue.
Absolutely.
So what are the requirements to be a heart mentor? We're going to have 4 trainings. We're saying 2.5 hours. Our goal is to do it in 2 hours. And then Alice and I can stay around if anybody has any questions. We had, with our first round of trainings, there were definitely some people who had some questions that didn't bring it up into training, or just kind of wanted to talk or practice. And so we are by all means available. If you are not available for one of these dates, we will be recording them all, so you can watch the recorded training after the fact. We're going to have up to 3 large practice sessions afterwards where we have everybody kind of doing some role playing, and we say up to 3. If everybody's comfortable after 2, then that's great. If people aren't comfortable, then we'll go ahead and by all means do another one. We want to set you guys up for success. So we'll also pair you up with another person who is going through the training so that you guys can practice away from the training and kind of do some role playing, you know, one be the mentor, one be the peer, and then switch it up. We ask that you meet the defined competencies of being a mentor. And these are things that we will go over during the training. So it's definitely nothing major, but just, you know, important things for being able to understand being the mentor and the importance of it. Understanding the policies and procedures, which again, we will give you during the training. Commitment to confidentiality. And then we have monthly large group meetings where we ask all of our mentors to join us. We kind of do a check-in. We make sure things are going okay. We've had some of our mentors share some examples of things that they have had, especially, you know, things that have been a little bit more challenging. We have either Alice or one of our coaches do a little bit more training on key areas that come up during some of the conversations, because we just want to make sure that things are fresh in our minds. And if we notice that there is one particular topic that seems to be coming up with a lot of our peers, we'll definitely focus on that. And then you'll be assigned, as a mentor, you'll be assigned a coach, which we'll go over in a little bit. And the coaches do check-ins with you as well, to make sure that you're doing okay and you're taking care of yourself. Because like I said, you know, that's the self-care is so incredibly important for the success of our program, because we want to make sure that you guys are doing okay as well.
And so the next 2 slides are just a little snippet of the things that we will cover in training. As Terry said, that our model of our heart and peer support model is based on the reciprocal peer support model. And that involves 4 tasks in the peer support. One of the, you know, connection and presence which is how to connect with your peer in a, you know, in a really wonderful, warm and welcoming way. Information gathering and risk assessment includes, you know, like listening without judging and identifying areas where your peer might be struggling. And then the goal setting and wellness plans. I'm going to say a little bit more about that in the next slide. And then we're going to teach you all about resilience and how important it is and how to get it and how to practice it, and then how to give appropriate affirmation and praise. So these are the things that are involved with kind of like with every meeting with your peer. And then we're going to cover more in depth 8 dimensions of wellness. And this is really important for all the reasons that you guys have already said, is that the heart peer mentors went through the same trauma the peers went through. And so self-care, we emphasize self-care continually throughout the program. And, you know, we really address the whole person. We're not just looking at the emotional. We're going to talk about the physical and social and all the other aspects of it. So, so that you can practice it for yourself. And then if your peer's interested in doing any goal setting or any wellness planning, and then you'll have the material in order to do that with them. And then another thing we take really, you know, in addition to self-care, we take confidentiality really, really super seriously, you know, because it's the success of the program. You know, if there's ever a breach of confidentiality, it could really harm or be detrimental to the program. And we really want the program to be strong because we want people to be helped. And so we decided to take just like the strictest view of confidentiality, which is if you guys have done any therapy, any kind of therapy or whatever, I'm sure your therapist has said these kinds of things to you, you know, where the things that you say are confidential, except if there is any indication of child or elder abuse, or if somebody's at harm to themselves or to someone else. And then also we are set up, like Jill said, that every peer mentor is assigned a coach, and they are able to talk to their coach if they have a problem with, if they're, you know, they're meeting with their peer and their peer is asking them something that they're not familiar with, they can go to their coach for information. And so that's all covered within the confidentiality. And the reason we have the coaches is, again, for the self-care. We want to make sure everybody stays super, super healthy. So, you know, if you're talking to a peer and you get activated in some way, you know, we want you to have a way to be able to talk to someone. It doesn't replace your therapy. Your coach is not your therapist, but your coach is there to give you healthy tips about setting good boundaries and maybe resources if you should need it. People meet with their coach usually once to get to know them, you know, for like half an hour or so, and then they do monthly check-ins and can call them as needed. Oh, and so our heart coaches, Jill, if you could just put them all up at once, that would be awesome. I apologize because my dog is growling at me. She wants me to play. And so if you hear a slow growl, that is just this one. I'm just going to get it out of the way because otherwise I'll be distracted. This is her. Okay. Okay. So our heart coaches, we adore these people. They are licensed clinicians, and they are all involved with the Route community. They've been working with routers for quite a while. Stephen Bond, he's a marriage and family therapist. His, you know, expertise is trauma and relationships. Jackie is an expert in as a drug and alcohol specialist, and we just so value them. Amy O'Neill brings a really super interesting perspective. She was a therapist, and then she participated in the Boston Marathon, and then she became a Boston Marathon bombing survivor. So her perspective is very interesting because she brings the clinician as well as the survivor perspective. Minda brings also another interesting perspective. She was a first responder. She's a licensed marriage and family therapist, and she has a great understanding of survivors and mass violence. Oh, so here's some questions that we get pretty often. How often do you meet with your peer? Because people want to know how much time is involved. The amount of time that is involved is whatever time you can contribute. Most people are meeting every week or every other week, with at a pace that whatever's best for you. Generally, the phone calls will last 30 to 60 minutes. And sometimes in your first phone call, if you don't watch the time, it could go, you know, to an hour and a half because people are so enjoying getting to know one another.
And the number of times you meet with a peer is going to depend on them and their needs. We've had some people who we started the program in, I think, July, and we have some people whose peers have said, okay, I think I'm doing good. And they still, you know, touch base occasionally. And others still, you know, are going. So it's open to whatever the peer needs. As far as how you meet with a peer, most of the time is going to be by phone. If you're comfortable doing Zoom or in person, if it's geographically convenient, it's great. But by and large, it's going to be, you know, texting just to kind of set up some times and talking on the phone. And as we've said, you know, if somebody wasn't at Route, but they were still impacted, they could absolutely still be a mentor or receive peer support, one or the other. Our current mentors are Route attendees, parents of routers, community responders, friends of routers. We have men, women, parents, married, single, no longer in the relationship they were with on October 1st, working the 12-step program. So literally, you know, we have a little bit of everything, which I think is so important because with 22,000 people there, plus those impacted, we cover a little bit of everything there too. So how do I apply to become a mentor? On the Vegas Strong Resiliency website, there you click on support and then become a supporter. Go to Heart Peer Mentor, or you can go to the link that we've given. It's https:// www.vegasstrongrc.org/heartpeer/. You can also email us. Terry, Alice, and I all have access to this email, heartpeer91@gmail.com. Or you can call Terry at the Resiliency Center. And I've given you both numbers for Vegas and outside of Vegas. The 833 is a toll-free number. So one thing we want to ask you guys, there are people that you know who you know are still struggling, who maybe aren't ready to reach out to a therapist. Please let them know about HEART. We try to get it out. The Resiliency Center makes some posts about it, but as you know, it's word of mouth is the best advertisement, and we know that there's a lot of people who are still struggling. So actually, since Erin is on, I will say that Erin is the one who found this quote for us. But we really, after she gave it to us, we really felt that this kind of summarizes what we do as mentors. Sometimes we need somebody to be there with us, not to fix the problem, not to offer advice or do anything in particular, simply to be present with what we're feeling, to show up and acknowledge what we're going through and hold a supportive, safe space for us with what's showing up for us. And as people who were impacted by route, we can do that for other people. So if there's no other questions, we just want to thank everybody for their time. We really appreciate, like I said, really appreciate you joining us. Alice and I can stay on afterwards for a little bit if anybody has any questions. And if you're interested in going through the training, if you can either fill out the form on the Resiliency Center website or call or email us.
Can I add a couple things?
Absolutely.
Sure. So I just was making a couple notes as we were talking. So if you go through the 4 sessions of training, you're not obligated. If you decide this is not for me at any point, you can decide this is a great training, or maybe it wasn't a great training for you, but you do not have to move forward at any point. There might be times when you say, I need to take a break. Got a lot going on in my life. I'm not able to do this right now, but I'll pick it up again later. So, we really want to work with what you have to offer and what you're ready for. We have other roles that help support the program in addition to being a peer mentor. So some people go through the training and they like it and they want to be involved, but they're not quite ready to connect with someone one-on-one. And so we do have other roles with that. And Alice did a great job with the confidentiality piece, but it really can make or break a peer support program. It's just extremely important that the people talking with us know they can trust us with what they're talking about. So just wanted to touch base on those things. And if you didn't, let us know who you are in the chat. That would be really helpful. I'm trying to kind of catch everyone's attendance, and I know someone's driving and listening, which is fine. So I do want to ask if Erin has anything she wants to add, since she's been doing this with us for a little while, and she's been with us on our maiden voyage, our initial try at this.
I guess if anybody has any questions from the 2 of us who are on this call, to let you know what it's been like for us. Anything come up? If not, we can think of some things maybe to share.
Well, and I will say Erin is one who's definitely made good use of her coach. She's had a couple of challenges, and her coach has been able to give her some really great suggestions on how to handle it, which is exactly why we have it set up the way we do.
Yeah, I think maybe at this point, the best thing I can share is that the quote is so appropriate that Jill read, because you want to help everyone. All of us are nurturers, obviously. We've gone through it ourselves, and we've found our own peace at whatever level we're at, but not everyone is ready for that. And I've had people that I've been meeting with that were super resilient and ready to kind of just hit the ground running and get over it and move quickly. And then I've had other people who are not at all. And the trauma is so deep and invasive in their life to be even functional that as a peer mentor, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist, and that's not my role. And so we look for further support for some of these people and opportunities for them to make progress with a professional, but at the same time being a mentor on the side to continue to encourage them and give them means in which they can sleep, calm themselves, think about their daily lives, maybe make some goals. We've worked on goals for people to get back to exercise, walking, seeing friends, things like that. But it was a learning process for me, and I definitely used my coach because she's a trained psychologist, and I definitely needed one with one of the people that I'm working with. And I want to fix it, but I can't. And I ended up in tears one day talking to Jill about it because we want so deeply to help people out of their pain, and yet that's not our job. And so I've come a long way with realizing that it's not my job to save them. It's my job to be there for them as a mentor and help them the best I can with my training, but to also be humble enough to refer them to specialists when needed.
Thank you, Erin. And that's the nice thing. We can go to Terry at the Resiliency Center. She can get, if somebody doesn't have a therapist, Terry can refer them to therapists. There's several programs. I don't know if you guys have recently checked out the calendar, the Resiliency Center website, but there's so many programs that are available for routers and anybody else impacted. So we can also refer the peers to that as well. And we would definitely encourage our mentors to do that because those programs are free. And that if we don't have people attending, they hopefully, well, we don't want them to stop, but you never know. So there's being connected with the Resiliency Center for this has been really great because we do have that incredible resource.